Alright, so my research project was over implementing positive reinforcement in the classroom. Okay, the purpose was to look at how the implementation of positive reinforcement in the classroom and school can benefit all students, and to see if there would be less discipline issues occurring as well as student performance and achievement improving. So, my research questions for this: how does positive reinforcement affect the school's atmosphere? What types of positive reinforcement could our school implement? And will students show growth both academically and behaviorally when receiving positive reinforcement? So some of the literature that I looked up and had in our research paper, these were some of the quotes that really stood out to me. The first one's kind of the definition of reinforcements. Reinforcement is a stimulus which follows and is contingent upon a behavior and increases the probability of behavior being repeated. Positive reinforcement has been proved to be effective in promoting desirable change in student behavior and academic progress. The quote that really stood out to me, though, and if you guys have any comments, feel free to share, but it says, students motivated by excellence tend to self-monitor their results more than those motivated by the fear of punishment. This is why it is extremely important for teachers to be consistent when rewarding positive behavior. You guys have any comments on that quote?
I noticed that the students in my gifted blocks seem to be more naturally motivated by excellence than by just naturally, like they don't need as much positive reinforcement as the other groups seem to need.
I know, like when I was growing up, I mean, obviously I was motivated by fear too, because I knew if I didn't do well, my parents were going to kill me. You know, but it was also that reward of, you know, how much I would get per A on the report card and stuff like that. It also motivated me to do well. Like, what do you guys, anybody else see anything different in the classroom?
Sometimes I think fear helps motivate them of punishment to behavior-wise, but academic-wise, positive reinforcement I've noticed is a better reward system, because they like for you, because they don't get told enough.
For academics, especially.
Our kids don't get told enough. You did a good job. You're good at this. You're doing a good job. They hear negative all the time. So when we are positive to them, they kind of brighten up a little bit and like, hey, I can do it. You know, and I've noticed that with this group of kids that we had this year.
And then when you get more specific with what you're praising them for, then that is something that's going to be repeated more often. That you see.
All right. So
It's like Pavlov's dog.
some of the benefits, like other than just the academic and the behavior aspects, one of them I found, it says it builds character development because they start trying to exceed expectations. Okay, which is I think something definitely with our students, we really need to try to build some character because they don't necessarily always see that they're at their homes. So those were some of the other benefits that I found while I was researching. Whether we like it or not, students are expecting and collecting feedback from their teachers. And teachers need to be aware of the impact that their verbal comments and nonverbal body language have on their students' motivation levels. This is something I know I have a tendency to have a little sarcasm in my room.
I do too.
We know you do too. Okay, but sometimes that's like building relationships because the kids will laugh. But they do expect to receive some feedback. And I really noticed that a lot with our group lately. I've had a lot of them, like even with today's assignment with their sensory language sentences. Is this okay? Is this good enough? And that's sometimes I haven't seen that a whole lot in the past. And
I really struggle with this whole positive thing because, okay, first of all, I'm old. And second of all, I went to school in the 70s and the 80s, and we didn't get positive anything. It was either you did it or you got the crap beat out of you, not only at school, but then when you got home, you got the crap beat out of you again there. You know, so I think I struggle with this probably more than, I think I'm older than all of y'all.
well, they did provide some tips, and it's funny you bring that up because that's actually the next slide. So there are some ways to implement positive praise, which, you know, sometimes seems really generic, but yet kids enjoy getting that type of feedback. show honest appreciation. Like say, I like the way you explain that, or thank you very much for that response. Like I know that might seem very generic, but to them, getting that type of praise, and especially in front of their peers, can be very uplifting. Now, we all have those students though that, bless their hearts, will answer a question incorrectly, okay? And then you're kind of like, you don't be like, no, wrong. All right, so
That's a good starting point.
That's what I say.
Okay. Some
Let's
ways
dig a
that
little
we,
deeper.
yeah, good starting point. I might make that same mistake. Lots of us feel that way. I know. I'd be like, oh, you know, I could see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I said, but there's a better way that we could do it. So just little ways of just kind of changing the way we say it, just not saying wrong. Okay, some other forms of positive reinforcement that we could implement, and again, there are many, just, so this is pretty limited right here. But wall displays of student successes, like right now I have, well, that wall, but I still have to fill it out. For my common assessment, where I'm gonna put my proficient and distinguished students up there. That's also something we could do with map testing that would be really easy. Something I saw that I really liked is good citizenship slips. And then like on that one, anytime you saw a student doing something good in the hallway, like I had a student that spilled all her stuff in the classroom today and somebody helped her pick it up. They filled out this good citizenship slip. That's really hard to say fast. Okay, but anyway, they filled that out and then the kids' names got put into a drawing and they won some type of prize at the end. But they are also acknowledged over like the announcements or something like that if it wasn't an overabundance. But that's something too, I think, that could promote good character development.
We used to have these good news notes that went home, they were postcards, and you'd be amazed that I would fill 4 or 5 of them out, and as I walked through the class, I just sort of slide it in your notebook, and the number of parents would call and say, oh, I got it hang on my refrigerator, and then the kid's a totally different kid the next week, or, you know, and a lot of times that's the turning point for them. So sometimes having that thing to hang on the refrigerator at mama's house is
Pretty.
Because especially if they're used to only getting negative phone calls, yeah.
I got one this year for Lauren in the high school, and it's hanging on.
So I mean, that's something that we could easily implement like school-wide.
That'd be good.
Reward systems or point systems, that obviously takes a lot more time and effort. I know Mr. Bogus does the ticket system where he has certain prizes for that. That one requires a lot more time though. Class passes, such as homework, free time, technology, or even just letting them choose where they want to sit in class, that's something that could be easily implemented in any classroom. And then tangible awards that meet the school guidelines, okay? We know I used to be the candy thrower in class, and now we can no longer do
You can pull
candy.
A granola bar.
Okay, but that's more expensive. I used to be able to buy a large bag of Smarties and then toss them out. But, so tangible awards, I don't see kids getting motivated very much with a decorative pencil or anything like that. So that one, I guess, we'll
They
just
like
have to-
mechanical pencils though.
True, but we have to get a little more creative now with the whole no sugar thing.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed at how excited they get over a sticker.
Yeah,
They
they'll
still
be on
do.
their face at some point, is what I've noticed.
Yeah,
When
they
I put it
enjoy
on their
displaying
test.
that
Yeah.
for some reason.
So I created that teacher survey that you guys did over SurveyMonkey and had to do it for
yeah.
the PBIS, and it was given to the PBIS committee.
I've never used it.
But 81% of the teachers polled said that they use some form of positive reinforcement daily in their classroom, which is really good. There was only one teacher that told me she didn't do anything, okay? When asked if they rewarded more for behavior or academics, 63% of our teachers said they rewarded for both, which kind of surprised me because sometimes I feel like we focus more on behavior than we do academics, but that's a pretty good percentage. When asked if they did more whole class rewards or individual rewards, 58% said more individual, while 40% said more whole class, okay? That other 2% said other, and they didn't clarify what other was, so I don't know. But that one also surprised me, because to me, it's easier to reward whole class than it is for me to reward individually. So I was kind of surprised to see that it was higher the other way around. There was a vast array of different ways they reward their students. The leading examples, and it's just the leading ones were free time, homework passes, verbal praise, and free seating in their classroom. Okay, and then when asked if they noticed a difference in students when they received positive praise, 91% of teachers responded with yes. I had a couple people that commented that after a while they just get tired of hearing the praise and they don't really respond to it anymore. Like they see it as just like they're just supposed to get it every day. So that was kind of interesting. So I also surveyed students. These were their top rewards that they would like to receive. Eat lunch outside with a friend. Now obviously we can't control that, but that could be something that the school may implement with those tickets. Be dismissed to class from a minute early. I started doing that by having little races in my aisles, and say the first class that had like their bell ringer sheet out, you get to be dismissed early. You would not believe how quickly they got their materials out then. Listen to music during class, which obviously will be to the teacher's discretion. Free time to use cell phones or get on a computer, again, teacher's discretion. Watch a movie. I was kind of surprised to see that one on there because last year's group hated watching movies as a reward. But this year's group said they would love to just have a group reward where they went to the pack to watch a movie. Homework passes, which should be something easy, and bonus points. Something else that was on there that did kind of shock me, I had a few students that said like be secretary or principal for a day, which again is out of our hands, but something for you to think about. So, for the actual research part that I did in my classroom, I came up with this Kernel Pride Challenge, which is over there in the corner of my board. We started it all over again yesterday. What I did is I looked at the behavior issues I was having in each class. And then I looked at how many minors were written in those classes during that time. So like first period, it was more motivation, student participation, because they're kind of quiet because they're still tired. Like third period, that's my drumming class. Okay, so that was one of my major disruptions. My fourth period, a lot of boys. Okay, so that was a lot of talking and losing materials. 6th and 7th, my 2 GT classes, they're just talkative. We all know that that's usually how they are. And then my 8th period, bless their hearts. Okay, talking, very argumentative, disrespectful, motivation. So I started this Kernel Pride Challenge that anytime the whole class demonstrated like meeting those expectations, they received a letter. We also set goals for our common assessment, and if they met their goals for the common assessment, again, the class average, I rewarded them with 2 letters. The winning class they voted on would receive a half class period free with phones or technology. And then I collected the data after the 2 weeks determining any behavior and or academic success. This is what ended up happening 2 weeks later. Okay, as you can see, minors went down drastically. Then I started seeing students self-correct more, not necessarily with themselves, but if Ryan was talking, Mary was sitting there going like this and be like, dude, we're 1 letter behind. So they started correcting each other too. Also, their averages on their common assessments, all of them went up. Now, as far as meeting the goals we had set per class, my first period and fourth period were just a little shy of meeting their goal, but their averages all went up. So I found that kind of interesting, just to give them free time on their phones. That much of a dynamic took place.
And sometimes when you have less of those disruptions, you actually get more finished. So you get more done and then have that half a period of time. They think they're doing something.
Well, and they focus more.
Right.
You get like 9 weeks of them focusing and then trying to compete among each other, but you only have to give up half a class period. It's like a great trade.
Is there a time limit on your Kernel Pride thing? Because I do mine as a 4-week, but mine I guess is more negative because I take a letter away. And so would you add a letter? So is there a time limit on yours?
I didn't do a time limit, I just said the first class to get theirs spelled out. And my first period won 2 days ago, so we started a new one today,
So
or
then,
yesterday.
so once the first class gets it, does everybody restart?
And I mean, they get ill too, and they see that one class, when one class is one letter away, like then they're really even trying. Then they're trying to bribe me, well, if we do this, then can we get 2 letters today? And stuff like that, so it did help motivate them. So anyway, I also looked at just our data from the last 3 years since we've implemented PBIS, because we know PBIS's main thing is positive reinforcement and interventions, which we all struggled with at first. In 2011, 2012, we did not really follow PBIS guidelines, okay? We had 2,299 office referrals that year. 2012, which is when we got new administration, PBIS, we had all those books in our hands, like the whole discipline system changed everything. We went down to 1186. 2013 to 14, we're at 1200. 2014, 2015, we're at 966. That's a huge drop. And then in retrospect, with that, we went from 11th percentile to 18th, so we showed a little growth, but then to 76 and 74 with less write-ups. So that to me shows right there the whole positive reinforcement and interventions that we've been trying to implement, because it's still kind of new, have definitely worked. So, future actions, obviously I'm presenting this to y'all today. This is something that will get presented to the PBIS committee to report to faculty too, or maybe, like some people did say that they wanted some positive reinforcement ideas for their classroom. I'm going to continue using it in my classroom because that's worked, but I need to start practicing on more individual positive reinforcement too. So that's something I kind of need to look more into. And then, just like to sum it up, just since I started implementing this kernel pride system, it's helped me build more positive relationships with the majority of the students, the ones that are actually fueled to succeed and to win at something like that type of competition. So that's it. Any questions or comments?
I like the correlation between positive and the test data.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy on how much that went down.
But I think that goes all right along with what Chuck was saying, was that when you get behavior under control in the classroom, you do have more time, and you feel like you can get, more time.
Because you're not having to focus on discipline problems, and you can focus on just instruction. So, but that, I mean, there's just a dramatic change.
All right,
That's a good idea.
thank you.
Okay, thank